Welcome back everybody to the Colorful channel. My sushi t-shirt, my favorite food. It's difficult to find where I'm living, so I'm just trying to channel the t-shirt so I can get it soon, I hope. Like I said last time, let's get into my favorite books. I mean, do I really have favorite books? I do, but I don't. I have so many, so I'm not sure. So, number one, or let's say not number one, but one of the first ones I love. I love Mia Sheridan, Archer's Voice. I am obsessed with this book. I've read it 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit less, and it's one of these books that I read maybe 2 to 3 times a year. I just love it that much. It's a little bit of a romance, but it's very emotional, very. I cried a little bit, a couple of times. It's very hopeful. It's a very hopeful book. It's a little bit sad about the guy's story and hers as well, but it's medium pace, which I liked. In the beginning, it was one of the first books that I was like, come on, get into it. I just want to know what's happening, but it's a little bit medium, slower pace, which for me in the beginning was very, very, very enjoyable. Overall, I do love Mia Sheridan. She writes one of my favorite books. That's why on this list or in this video, there's actually 2 other ones from her. I read her constantly. She throws you these like curveballs of a books that you think it's gonna be something, but it's completely something else. And this Archer's Voice was one of them. This is also one of these books that it's actually very high rated in both Storygraph and in Goodreads and on iTunes as well. People seem to really love this book. I think I read it in 2 or 3 nights, if I'm not sure. Couldn't finish it faster, work. So I recommend it 100%. Let's go to number 2 and 3, which is also a duet, also written by Mia Sheridan. The first one is Becoming Calder, and the second one is Finding Eden. This one is also a love story romance, but it's so different. They live in this kind of cult without knowing they kind of living on it. It's very intriguing and mysterious, the story. It throws you also very, very big curveballs. I remember I finished Becoming Calder and I was like, that's it? Where is the rest? Until I found that there's actually the second one, which is Finding Eden, which I purchased, obviously right away because I couldn't wait until I started reading it. Obviously, Finding Eden is the second one, was a little bit of a faster, in my mind, conclusion. The answer to all your, let's say, questions. It's emotional, sad as well. Some people die, spoiler alert, which I really wanted them to leave, but it is what it is. It's a little bit of a romance. It's a good character development. I really, really enjoy that. Or overall, in Mia Sheridan's books, she's awesome. A character development, which I really, really enjoy. It's not just like, oh, it's her and that's him and that's it. She does a lot of development, which thumbs up. Number 4 is Colleen Hoover, It Ends With Us. I've read a couple of her books before, but when I got this one, I was like, let's see what it's about. And it knocked me on my ass. It was just... there's so many things happening. It's very sad with the hopeful ending, let's say. It's medium pace as well, very emotional. I think I cried a little. It's also a little bit dark, but I also like this kind of, not just like, wrapped in the red bow and all that stuff. I like sometimes a little bit dark books, not all the time. I really like light reading as well, because you cannot really read, I think in my mind, dark all the time. Sometimes reading is, for me, escaping in other worlds and developing stories in my own mind. But I like this little bit of dark, or a lot of dark that she gave us. This book was on Goodreads. You can vote for books every year. This book actually won Goodreads romance category or best romance category in 2016 by voters. I voted on it. It was such a good read, very deep into characters as well, which I really, really love. She writes like this. It's not the first book that I've read of her. I've read a lot of books by Colleen Hoover, but this for me takes the cherry on top of the cake. Next, we have again another duet by Kirsty Muesli. I hope I'm saying her last name correct, which is Nothing Left to Lose and Enjoying the Chase. Nothing Left to Lose is the first one on the duet, which it's very emotional, a little bit dark, and in my opinion, very slow paced. I never read a book with so much, every little detail was thought out. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a little bit dark, maybe not for everybody. It started with a bang. When I read the first chapter, I was like, trying to keep going. Is it my kind of book? I hope, because something really happens in that first chapter. It's just kind of like, I'm shocked. I was not expecting it, especially because the characters were so young, like 16 or something, if I'm not mistaken. But I kept reading it. I was just like, let's give it a try. And I could not put it down. I think it was maybe about 800 pages, and I just finished it in 2 days. Was that good? There is some humor, not that much, because it's a little bit dark, the story of her, but that's quite a good. The Enjoying the Chase is actually their friend's story, which is really good, but it's not dark at all. It's much light. It's very funny. I really, really enjoy it. There's some kids in a mix, which, you know, kids say the darnest things, and it's just funny to read, actually. I really, really like it when there's kids like under 8 or something, because kids just blur out whatever it's on their mind, and in this book happens, and that's very good. It's lighthearted, it's a romance, so if it's not for you, but I ended up reading it because it was the continuation or the second part of Nothing Left to Lose. It did not disappoint. It's actually not the smallest book. It's maybe about 600 to 800 pages, but you finish it so fast because it's so easy to read. And I really, really love this book. It's one of these books that I also pick up once in a while, maybe 2 to 3 times a year. I pick it up and I reread it. In the meantime, she also did another book, or let's say a short story from these characters, was also very, very good. Obviously, short stories, sometimes people love them or hate them. I sometimes like them if they have a good beginning, middle, and end. Some short stories are just like papoom, and there's really nothing much happening. But this one I enjoyed, which is kind of like their bachelor party, and it was very, very funny. They are funny characters, even if the first book it's very, very dark. They are very funny characters. They are very good friends, and that brings kind of the charm of the book, I would say. Now, let's go to more funny, easy reads. I read Colin Jost, the guy from Weekend Update from SNL. He's a very punchable face memoir. I cannot tell you, I could not read it at night because I love to read in bed. And I was just laughing so hard and scared that I would wake up my boyfriend. It's so funny, the book. I mean, he's a funny guy, but when you have somebody that funny, like, I don't know, Eddie Murphy or Chris Rock and stuff, they are a funny person or in person doing their sketches. But to transfer that or to translate that in a book, it's not easy. And it was just like, you learn from his life, stories that happened to him, stuff that he also is said in interviews, which is very funny. I read it so fast. It was also in the running of the Goodreads 2020 comedy category. It did not win, but it was in the running, which I found very interesting. It's not so easy category to go into, but in the title, you know, a very punchable face. He's actually very good looking. And I mean, he's married to Scarlett Johansson, come on, you know. But the book was just like, it was so good. I really, really enjoy it. I advise everybody, if you want a light read, a funny one, very easy to go through, that's one. It will be one book for you. A little bit of a faster pace, which is actually normal in this kind of memoirs, I think, in my opinion. And there's a lot of different stories, which I kind of like. Not everybody likes that, to go jump from one to the other. Everybody has their own preference. And my last one is Worth It, written by S.M. Owens and S.M. Shade. Before I read this book, I was already a very big fan of S.M. Owens, a very, very big fan. She writes very funny books as well, with a lot of romance and families and craziness. And I found this one written by 2 people. I was like, just the cover, you kind of like, I can't with this book. I was pissing myself laughing through the whole thing. There's a little bit of romance, but there's so much funny stuff happening. From her, you know, showing her underwear all the time, to her not having the arm. I can't. It was so funny. I wish, you know, just because I love this book, they would have written the second one, because I really wanted to know more stories of the 3 of them. There's some parts emotional, but that's normal. You know, Kasia and her mom's relationship is not the best. A little bit of a curveball every now and then. If you see on Goodreads, I know some of you don't like it. It's a 4.5 rating a review. It's not everybody can get that. And if you read the book, you know, llama, it's everywhere, or the dolphins, or I just can't. It's not number one all the time, but if I'm in a sour mood or a down mood, I know this book is gonna do it for me because it's so good. Obviously, these lists for me, it's a little bit difficult to compile because I have in my list over maybe 1,500 books, but these are some of them that I completely reread. Fantasy, I like a little bit, not so dark, a little bit more light-hearted. Harry Potter is kind of okay, or the Mortal Instruments as well, but not much darker than that. The fantasy genre. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. My next video will be then about some of my favorite series, let's say it like this. I will talk about them, a little bit of romance, some fantasy. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching and see you next time.